So everyone, that's a bunch of blah blah blah. You'll see over here that I've got this up because I had to fix some of these formulas. I had a typo in a couple of them, so this is the actual presentation that you will receive, and the formulas are correct in it. So that being said, I noticed the problem when I started figuring out what my retirement was going to be, and Wolfram was telling me zero. That was not something that was making me happy. So I did fix it. And so again, going to look at my retirement, what we're going to do now is say, okay, if I continue doing what I'm doing, which is putting 15% away monthly, and I've already got from doing that, again, we discussed in my financial situation here that I have put in a total of $85,000, and it has grown to 297,000 without me doing anything so far, and it's going to do that for the next 22 years. I hope. If I have anything to say about it, it will. And so in my retirement, I will receive $38,000 annually as a pension. And again, that's guaranteed money that I get basically as a payout for working all those years. Personal contribution retirement fund, that's this thing. The ending balance of that is going to be something that we'll delve into how to calculate. And again, with these formulas and stuff today, folks, please don't feel like you need to be an expert. We're going to go through these very in detail in each of the upcoming lessons. This is just a demonstration of me showing you what you have the power to do with the knowledge that you're going to gain here in Chapter 6. And so my personal retirement fund, this right here can be thought of as compound interest, like a lump sum that's just going to sit there and continue growing. The contributions from here forward can be thought of as an annuity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to not take the formulas from up there because they're not right. I'm going to take the formulas from the presentation you're getting. Compound interest is how that $297,140 is going to behave from now until the time I retire. So if I put that formula in, Wolfram, and again, please recognize you don't need to be an expert at this yet. I is R divided by M, so that's 7%, 0.07. Divided by M is the number of compounding periods. I made payments into this monthly, and so it's going to grow monthly. N is MT, so compounding periods is 12. T is time in years. It'll be 22 years before I retire. I can expect this $297,000. One moment, there's an error in the formula again. Oh, I see the error in the formula. I forgot to put in that there's $297,000 and $297,140.26 in that account right now. I forgot to put that amount in there. And so what we're going to end up with, folks, is this times 10 to the 6. And so again, that means move the decimal place 6 places to the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I love it. That's $1,379,889.90. And so one of the things you're going to see, everyone, in Wolfram is that Wolfram is going to come up with a different result than the other tool I use to do this. And so it will be a little bit different, but both of them sort of have different constraints in how they're being used. And so we'll sort of look at we'll consider both of them to be a pretty good guess, is what I'm getting at. And so I'm trying to scoot this over so I can type this in there. So what I've got coming in the ending balance of my personal retirement fund will be $1,379,849.90 is what I can expect to be in that account when I retire, if I didn't put another penny into the account. And so if I just left this money to do what it's doing right now, it would grow to be 1.3 million basically by the time I retire. That is not all that's going to happen, because I'm going to continue adding money to this account every month, which means that that money is going to behave like future value of an annuity. So I'm going to get my future value of an annuity formula. We'll go back up and look at my paycheck. And so right now I'm putting 1,000, oops. Let's blow this up so you can see. Right now I'm putting in 1,229.26. So my R is going to be 1,229.26. That's the amount that's going in every month recurring. My I is going to be 0.07 divided by 12. My N is going to be MT, which is the compounding periods times the number of years. And my I, again, is going to be 0.07 divided by 12. And the reason I'm using 0.07, I can't remember if I've mentioned this in the video yet, is that the national average return on investments has been about 7% since the 1970s. And so it's a pretty safe number to use. We can always hope that that interest rate is higher than that, but 7% is a good rule of thumb. And so we can see that from now to the time I retire, putting in $1,229 every month will result in an additional $767,851.90 in my retirement account. And so my personal retirement account is going to be that 1,379,000 that is going to grow by compound interest with the money that's already in there, plus my monthly payments and interest that will be added from now to the time I retire. And so we'll get Wolfram to add both of these up for us, and we'll see what Wolfram predicts my final retirement amount to be. That's a strange result. So let's see. Oh, I forgot to put the decimal on there. That would be awesome, wouldn't it, to retire with 78 million bucks? That would be pretty sick right there, but I'm not. So there's the 0.9. And let's hit that again. So the Wolfram is predicting that I will retire with about $2.14 million in the bank. Now again, this is my money. If I died the day after I retired, my children or my wife would inherit all of that. And so let's go ahead and swing that in here. That's going to be equal to 2,147,701. Now, one of the interesting things that I want to point out here, everyone, and 80 cents. So one of the interesting things I want to point out is that my $300,000 that's in there now is going to grow to be 1.3 million. And I'm going to be putting in money from now to the time I retire at the same rate that I have been this whole time for 22 more years. And that's only going to get me up to 767,000. Time is a huge, big deal. So this has been going on for a long time. Right now I'm only at 300,000, but it's going to grow to be 1.3 million by the time I retire, leaving me with a total of about $2.15 million or so. Now, this doesn't include Social Security. This is just my pension and my personal money. So I'll be walking out the door retiring with, like I said, about 2.1 million. And in order to factor in Social Security, we have to go to this website, which is the first green link up here in this slide. So this is a fantastic website called Bankrate. It's the Bankrate Retirement Calculator. And you can put in the information here and you can play with this as much as you want to see what your financial future looks like in terms of retirement. So I'll put in my information as I have so far. I'm 43. I'm going to retire at 65, or I plan to. This says annual household income. I'm only including my income, not my wife's, for this purpose. And then my annual retirement savings is 15%. My current retirement savings, I put in there 299,000. What was my real number? 297,140. So let's put that in there. My expected income increase, I'm going to say 0 just because I don't want to count any chickens before they hatch. And then we can throw around this number of how much do we need in retirement? What percent of that? And so let's say that I wanted to retire with the exact same amount of money that I'm making now coming in, which would be $100,000 a year. Remember that I'm going to make $38,000 a year from my pension. So I would need another $62,000 to fill that gap. Well, $62,000 is easy. It's 62% of 100. So let's put that in there and see what would happen to my retirement throughout my life. What would end up happening is I'm putting money in and it's growing. It reaches a height. This is putting it at about 1.9 million instead of 2.1 million like Wolfram did. So again, a little bit of a difference. And what does it say? What do I have in here as the expected rate of return? Yeah, 7% return before retirement. So at any rate, everyone, pretty darn close to what we got in Wolfram also. But you can see that the money actually continues to grow for a while because there's so much money in there and I'm taking it out so slowly that there's enough there that it's still building on itself. It is still growing even when I'm taking money out of the account. Then it starts to drop off. And by the time I turn 95, I have $1,081,000 left to give to my children. Let's decide that, hey, I don't want to do that. I want this to run out when I'm 95. I can play with this number instead of making 62% of what I make now, plus the 38, which is 100. So I would be making $100,000 a year. Let's add $10,000 to it. Let's go to 72%. There would still be $220,000 left in the account if I lived to 95, that the money would still be there. So let's say that I want it to run totally out by the time I retire, by the time I die, or by the time I'm 95. Right now I'm making $110,000 a year in retirement. Let's up it to 75. So that runs out right when I turn 95. 75 plus 38 makes $113,000 a year I would be making in retirement. I think that would put me on the beach in the Bahamas with a Coke Zero in my hand on the sand. So that's pretty awesome. That also doesn't factor in Social Security. And so another thing you can do on this website, and let's be realistic, okay, I'm probably not going to need that much money, but anything that is left in here, like let's say I died at 80, my children would inherit, or my wife would inherit about $1.5 million. And so this is a big deal, everyone. And I hope that this is hitting home for you. And I hope that this is something that you're feeling a bit of urgency about, because you can do this. I did. And I'm still doing it. So if I go ahead and include Social Security, I'm not going to check the box that I'm married because I don't want to consider my wife's Social Security benefits as well. If I click the include Social Security box, and in order to get there, everyone, I had to click this little plus sign over here to get that to drop down. Social Security adds $27,900 per year to my income, which would mean that if I was still pulling $75,000 here, $38,000 here, and $27,000 here, when I'm 95 years old, there would be $2.3 million left in this account. So let's pretend that Social Security is going to happen, and I'll throw this number up to 100. I want to make $100,000 a year from my retirement, my personal retirement plan, plus my $38,000 a year. So I would be pulling $138,000 a year. That puts me still having $169,000 in the account for my children when I'm 90. And if I passed away when I was 80, it's 1.6 million that they get. So I recognize that this is getting to be a bit of a long video, but I hope that this is something that is sort of getting the wheels turning for you, at least a little bit. And so we factor Social Security in. That means that we would be, if I want this to run out when I'm 95, let's go up to 102% and see where that puts us. 102%, I would run out, my retirement would run out, there's still some left. Let's go up to 103%. Then it runs out at 95. So I would end up making 103,000. Well, let's start with my pension. I would make 38,000. Plus my personal contribution retirement, which is now 103,000. And that would be my yearly income in retirement. I would retire making $141,000 a year, not including my wife's retirement. And that's pretty fantastic right there. So what we can see, everyone, is that that's pretty darn fantastic. I would actually be making $41,000 more in retirement than I'm working now, working as many jobs as I have. And then lastly, there's this piece about deferred compensation. Let me see how long this video is, because I think it might be time to cut it off, and I'll talk about deferred compensation in the next video. So for this video, everyone, will do the pension piece and we'll do the personal contribution piece with Social Security, and that will round out that conversation. I'll be back with video link number 2 for this slide to talk about deferred compensation.